If you listen to 1 hour of reading material every single day, in 1 year, it is equivalent to a master's degree.
We think if someone directs something at us, we have to accept it. We have to take on this feeling.
A lot of the times people just speak without even thinking how it's going to impact someone or the impact of their words on someone's heart.
Meditation is really solid for just like waking up for a moment, just having time in my day.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast.
Okay, so how do you build the muscle of courage? How do you get better at being courageous?
Courage comes, for me, about gaining confidence in micro moments. It's stepping out before you're ready. It's leaning into things that feel aligned. And for me, what that's looked like living in 7 cities in the past 10 years, every single courageous moment that I had, I made sure that I was first grounded in my body. And so, okay, is this a decision made from fear or is it made from alignment? And building courage comes from getting used to the feeling of the fear and the excitement. And so I've had so much fun over the years as I've moved, as I've leaned into things that were unknown that really allow me to have more fun, because the more courage I have and the more I step into the unknown, the more I'm able to grow. I'm able to learn. I'm able to expand. So I've really taken on courage as a game, and it's not easy at all. But once you start building momentum and you get a couple reps out of the way, just like anything else in life, you start to play with it and you start to lean into it. And then you're like, what else am I capable of? What else does life have to offer me? And that's been a really fun way for me to continue to grow as an individual and continue to just show up in big ways in which I maybe once wasn't equipped for. It took time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how we tend towards the safety or the path that we know, the one that others have either laid out for us or that we've seen other people walk. But straying from that path is takes energy. It takes effort. Mm-hmm. It takes courage. Mm-hmm. What was one of your early moments where you recognized this? Like, oh, this is a thing that I'm figuring out how to be courageous, how to take those leaps.
One of my first ones was definitely moving away from home after college. And it was for a job at the time, but I'm incredibly grateful for that because it really helped to push me. I was crying for weeks up until I moved, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I made the wrong decision, but I'd already signed a contract, so it got me out there. Mm-hmm. And at that point, like I said, the 0 to 1 is the hardest. And after I got out there, and yes, I cried every night for 3 months, but after that, again, there's always growing pains and there's always adjustments. And what I found is I really like this time by myself. I really love getting to know who I am without anyone else around telling me what to do, any expectations. I get to set it for myself. So to answer your question about what did an earlier moment of courage look like, it was more so committing to something and then wanting to back out and being like, no, you are a woman of your word. You're integral and you're going to follow through with this. And it's going to be good for you, because before every expansion is contraction. And I leaned in. I didn't know that at the time. I was just like, well, this is the thing I got to do. And there was money on the line. They were, paying me to relocate. And I was like, well, I can't back out of this now. So I kept in it for that reason. But the reasons why I stayed were beyond. They were more for me and for this next chapter of who I was becoming.
Yeah, that is very interesting to hear that that was so challenging. And now knowing you, having moved, like you said,
7 times
in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So that is cool to hear that it seems like it became more natural, mm-hmm. At least that way of being courageous. Mm-hmm. There was something I was going to say, but I lost it. It's gone into the void. Yeah, I like that idea of the contraction before expansion. How does that show up typically? Have you seen?
Contraction for me is more of a feeling. It's a feeling of, I get a pit in my stomach.
Yeah.
I feel very uncertain. I don't feel grounded. And my solution set is to go to the gym, to go get some fresh air and just be in it and also journal. I just have to figure it out. So what I do is I digitally journal and I do it on my phone now because I realized through writing in my journal, it took me hours at one point. There was one point that I was journaling for 5 hours a morning. I just had so much on my mind and so much I wanted to process. And I was like, this is not sustainable. And after that, I was like, well, I want to get outside with this. And so I just went on my phone, I created a note and I just pressed the Siri, the microphone, and I just started talking. And essentially I became my own therapist because that's what you do in therapy is you have space to talk. And so I just started talking and I'm like, hey, this doesn't feel right in my body. What is it? And just putting words to it or just allowing the emotions to be felt really helped me process what it was. And then the contraction started becoming a little bit more familiar because a big thing with the contraction is there's discomfort because it's unknown or it just comes all at once. And so what do we do to alleviate contractions? Either a little bit of energy that we release at a time. It could be through a workout, through a walk, or also energy through our voice. And that could be talking and understanding and getting from our mind into our heart and knowing it's okay. We got this. And just see what's meant to happen. Fear and unsafety is different than unknown and discomfort. So it's really figuring out, getting to know yourself and figuring out what's the difference and what is the action I need to take based on what I'm feeling. So it comes with a lot of self-awareness too.
Yeah, there are ways you can face your fears that will like freak your body out. And I think being careful about that is important too. Where it's like you want to like push it a little bit, but not to the point where you're never going to do that thing again, or you're just going to scare yourself away from going into that.
Yeah.
So that can be a fine line. I remembered my initial thought. It was about the commitment thing.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea of making like commitments in whatever ways are possible. A good one is like with an accountability buddy. So like me and Brian went for a run this morning and it's like, okay, he knows I'm going, I know he's going. So we kind of made a commitment last night when we were like, okay, we're gonna do it together. Another one I've built in there was a time last year, 2024, when I was doing a lot of fasting. I would try and do a 3-day fast every month. And there was one month that I was just like really struggling. Like I would go for a day and I'd be like, so my fasting brain is like so tricky. It's so smart.
Yeah.
It like comes up with all these reasons why I shouldn't be fasting. And it's like, why did you do it now? You should have done it a different day.
Dog making the most noise. The loudest face. Okay, God. Okay, fasting brain.
Yeah, so I'll be, fasting, and then it starts coming up with reasons like, oh, you shouldn't do this right now. You should probably eat tonight. Like that makes the most sense. And it's smart, so it gives me like good reasons. And so I kept doing that. Like probably 2 or 3 times I started the fast and then stopped. And it was getting to a point where I was like, okay, I need to just do this. And so I Venmoed my friend like $500, and I was like, don't pay me unless I don't eat until Friday or whatever it was.
Beautiful.
And that was like the commitment I needed, because that was like me being like, okay, I'm doing this. And if I don't do it, there's ramifications. I'm going to lose some money.
I love it.
So I like building those kinds of things in wherever is possible.
Yeah. The commitments come with, I love how you shared that, because the commitments come with intention, and that intention is backed in self-love. So what you did was, hey, I want to do this for me. Your heart knows why you want to do it. Your mind's going to try to talk you out of it. And so at the end of the day, you're like, I'm going to put money on the line, give it to a friend. And just, we all need that accountability. Why do we have coaches? Why do we have people we want to go to the gym with and work out with? Why do we tell a coworker, hey, this is my goal? Why do we tell team members, these are our goals, here are our KPIs? Like, we all need the accountability. And so setting a micro commitment for yourself when you're doing something, whether you're like, I'm going to do this for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, and then giving yourself a reward. It is the best thing to do. Is that centered?
It's good. It's good. I just get super paranoid.
If it stops recording.
I'm always like, did I really hit record? Yeah, but I did.
I've done that so many times. Like, wow, that wasn't plugged in. They can't hear anything. Yeah. So
Yeah. How do you go about rewarding yourself? Because I feel like that's a tricky one as well, and
mm,
something I've struggled to like
mm.
figure out.
The reward. Oh, this is a great question. Rewards have been tricky for me because before I thought a reward should look the same every time. I'm going to take myself shopping. I'm going to, you know, take myself out on a date. I'm going to do whatever.
Mhm.
My rewards in those moments is okay, so I'm doing this thing that's rooted in self love. What feels best to reward myself in that way? So if you're going to fast for 3 days, what's a good reward that feels good after fasting? Maybe I should take myself out to nature if I don't typically do that often. That I love nature and that also feels in alignment with the reward from the thing I just did. So I started to lean into different rewards that rounded out different parts of me. And yes, I love to get a manicure, pedicure sometimes. I love to just have a day where I go lay by the lake and I just read my book. Like all of those are super, super important. And just not being tied to anything. Sometimes it might be, I'm going to do nothing tonight. I'm going to have a bottle of wine with my girlfriend. Like super, super, super simple things where I used to overcomplicate them. And I'm like, well, if I'm not going to do this thing, then I'm not going to reward myself at all. And I think it's just having fun with it, having compassion, and just making sure that your body is getting that positive feedback loop. So next time you want to do something like that, you remember the emotion and the feeling from the last reward that makes you want to do it
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, I think this is true. I'm not 100% certain, but I think having rewards not planned out ahead of time is actually better
Hmm.
because you don't want to do the thing because of this reward that you're going to get. You want to just do the thing because you want to do the thing. And
Hmm.
then you kind of like throw in the reward at the end as like a little,
Mhm.
oh, it's a
Mhm.
boost. It's an extra thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole
Yeah.
like Vegas effect, if you've heard of that, where it's like sporadic random rewards
Yeah,
will like motivate you the most.
it does. It's so true. And it's again like I think when we're giving ourselves these commitments, it's a very masculine thing to do is I'm going to give myself this commitment, this structure and this time, and that's amazing. And how about we just do it because we want to grow as a person, because we want to challenge ourselves in a new way,
Mhm.
because we want to do something we previously thought we couldn't. That is the game of the human experience, is becoming more of or remembering a part of. And sometimes I could personally get in my head saying, I want to achieve this thing. Well, why do I want to achieve this thing? Is it society telling me I should? Is it because I just want to get stronger or say I did? No, like, what am I gonna learn from this? If I fast for 3 days, I know there's a point of mental clarity that's on the other side of maybe me only eating until I'm satisfied and not full. There's all those small little tweaks of why am I doing this? Because as a human, I get to experience the five senses. As a soul, we don't have any of these five senses. That's why we decided to come back down on here, onto earth, so that we can feel all these things. So being able to fast and feel a little deprived of food or feel as if our body is starving just to see on the other side, we get this other blissful experience. It's so cool. And throughout my life and throughout my experiences, especially the past 10 to 12 years, I've done it for the experience. What is this going to say and how is this going to make me feel after I'm done with the experience? More playful, more open-minded, more compassionate, more patient, more empathetic. So I've really leaned into the feelings and the emotions of
Mhm.
this experience versus just doing the thing. It's more of a being versus a doing.
Yeah, that's like with running. When I'm like checking my watch, I'm like, oh, how far have I gotten now? Where am I at now? I'm thinking about like, okay, I got to go 2 more miles, and I'm like counting down the miles. Versus when I'm just like 100% there,
Mm.
I'm thinking about each foot strike. I'm feeling my body moving through space. I'm like feeling my breath.
Mm.
It's a completely different experience. It's like a fuller experience, a
Yeah.
richer experience
Mm-hmm.
versus the other one, which is like I'm not really here right now.
Yeah.
I'm like just thinking about when is this gonna end.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that idea of how can I experience this more?
Mm-hmm.
Because what else is there? That's everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're living experience to experience, and
Yeah.
and just being fully in it is
Yeah.
is all we have.
Yeah. The being versus the doing. That's my biggest piece. I used to do a lot of things to do them versus be them. And I mean, a recent example is my desire to be more than do. It comes at a price sometimes in society that I'm really trying to figure out, where we get rewarded for doing, and being can show up more so as lazy. But how about getting lost in a run where you're just being versus doing? You're going to likely get rewarded for running 10 miles and doing the thing. But how about who you be and who it helped you be during that time? You were actually able to be present in every moment. Feel your foot striking, feel your breath. That's probably the most that you are present throughout your whole entire day. So again, rewarding ourselves for being versus doing, because the being is all we have. The being is presence, and I think putting an emphasis on that is super, super important, because a lot of us do a lot of stuff throughout our days and we go through the motions, but we never really presence ourselves and ground into the moment and actually be.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
100%. Like, so you say reward yourself for being. What does that look like?
Maybe not reward yourself for being, but just dropping into the feeling of being even more, because
So notice it and strive for it.
no, shouldn't strive for it. Yeah. And you'll find what I've found for myself is I'm just so much happier. And people are like, how are you so happy? Well, first of all, I woke up. That's a miracle in itself. And second of all, being able to be, you get to walk around your house. If we have the gift of walking around our house, getting ourselves ready for the day, sitting down for our meditation, our morning routine, like you are being that person. That is who you are. And yes, you are doing a routine, but in those moments of doing, you are being. And I think just presencing those moments of when you're making your coffee, okay, you're being present making your coffee and you're feeling each scoop. Okay, how does it feel to go outside and feel the sun or observe the trees? That is something you're being. You're being in the moment instead of just doing. You're not just a person doing an outside thing. Like you're actually there and you're presencing yourself in that. So when you do that, then you're able to be more. And that's what people feel when you show up even more, is that presence and that groundedness. And then in turn, you have more courage and more confidence, because again, you're present in your body. There's so much that we leave out for everyone else to control: external validation, external reactions. We want responsive. We don't want reactive. We want respond. Responding is being in the body. Reactive is externally being emotional. Anyways.
Yeah, it's almost like a cure-all, the presence idea. Yeah, let's talk about that reactive versus responsive, because I think that plays a big, like, that comes up in my life a lot. There are times where it's almost like there's a lot of levels to it. Like, so someone says something and I'm like anticipating what they're saying, anticipating what they want me to react as. How can I make this go nicely? All those things are going all at once. And that's the reaction. Is this like immediate response that is not coming really from me. It's just coming from some built-in program that knows that thing that's coming in and knows what to do to stop it or to soothe it or to whatever it is. But that's not really me. And I can feel that when it's not me. I'm like, oh shit, like that. I don't feel good. I know that didn't come from really me. So how do you switch that script? Or what do you do when you don't? Like when you do react, what happens then?
Throughout the years, what's supported me in responding versus reacting has genuinely been my journaling practice. And again, that could be someone going to a therapist. It's very similar, just where you're able to process things after they happen. Usually when we react, it is something that we've trained our body to do out of survival, or based on the previous time we reacted to something similar but have not yet processed it. So a way in which we can respond is to understand a previous reaction, especially something that gave us a jolt of emotion. So usually a reaction is when something gets us from here to here very quickly. Our heart rate increases. We have a certain jerk of a response, and that is a reaction. When you respond and you're anticipating, think of a sport. And see, I could have, in that moment, that could have been a reaction of stop. But I didn't, because I'm like, oh, something is taking my attention. What do I do in that moment? Well, It's kind of funny. Well, I'm very aware. So responding to things versus reacting to things takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes processing it. And it also takes wanting to be in the experience versus control the experience. So an example I was going to use is if you're familiar with in your sport and so I was a gymnast. So if I jump from the low bar to the high bar, if I do a flip on the floor, I know what's going to happen after because I've done the reps. I've processed it. I know how to fall. I know how to flip. I know how to prepare myself for my routine. So that's a response. A reaction would be if I was about to run and do a tumbling pass, for example, and something came out from nowhere, or I tripped, or that was something unexpected and I didn't know how to handle it. So I'd probably react to that. So if people want to become more responsive versus reactive, I would say once something happens that you realize you want to react, sit in it for 10 seconds. The timing and patience and sitting in a feeling is almost 100% cure all. But the second part is understanding why you feel that way. And that might look like, can you give me a couple minutes? I actually need to go think about this before I respond to you. And it's taking your time to understand, why did that trigger me so much? Oh, well, you know what? Last time that happened, it really hurt my heart and it made me feel super unsafe. Oh, that's really interesting. That made me feel that way. What was this time? I started to feel unsafe. So I was thinking that I might have had my heart hurt again. Oh, okay, interesting. Well, is that how so you're able to start talking yourself through this process of reactivity to then get to a response. So then I can come back to you and say, hey, look, I just felt really unsafe in that moment. And last time I felt unsafe. And then it's the communication piece. So the response comes after understanding the reaction and actually caring about wanting to make it a response versus a reaction. Reactions never end well with anyone. A reaction is just people doing tit for tat, like a lot of high energy, a lot of high conversation. And
I was going to say, I like this. So I call them like self-awareness practices. Could be journaling, therapy, meditation, breath work, anything that puts you in this reflective state where you're recognizing things that have happened that otherwise might not have come up. Like you might not have really realized. Yeah. So like having one of those, at least one, I think in your life is super important.
What's yours?
Right now it's been the meditation. And then I do like bi-weekly therapy, which is a really good, that I feel like is good for bigger things, but the meditation is really solid for just like waking up for a moment, just having time in my day that is, a chance for me to break out of whatever default mode I was running in for that day or part of that day or whatever it is. And just, okay, that happened and I'm recognizing it.
Yeah.
I'm here now.
Do you find yourself practicing meditation or sitting for meditation at certain parts of your day? Do you start your day with it? Do you drop into it throughout the day when you find yourself falling into something, as you mentioned? When do you find yourself practicing?
Yeah, right now, because of this Vipassana retreat that I did, I've been doing it morning and evening.
Beautiful.
Just that's what they recommend to keep up the practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do they differ from mornings to evenings for you?
The mornings are usually, my brain is more active because it's usually after I go for a run and I've had some caffeine. So like my brain is more active, which is like a two-sided sword. It's like, okay, I'm awake and alert, but then also I'm shooting off on tangents at the same time. The evening is much more mellow, which is also like a good and bad thing. Like it's yesterday I was like struggling not to fall asleep during it, but then it's also a very relaxed state. Yeah. And then I think the evening one is probably where I have those like come to moments where I recognize like, okay, that, I've been going throughout my day and this thing was happening and I didn't really realize it. I see it now.
One of my friends told me, he said, morning is contemplative and the evening is reflective, where that's when we visualize for the future. And so just again, like even you sitting with those moments is really beautiful because that's how we grow. Growth comes through reflection. Growth comes through presencing different moments throughout our day, because when we're in the moments, it's really hard to be understanding the moments. So I love the practice of twice a day because when we sit, it's completely different both times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk. You mentioned communication, and
Mm-hmm.
that was another thing that we wanted to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
So, what role does effective communication play on like your own well-being and your own internal state?
It's everything. How I love to say how we show up externally is a reflection of the safety we've provided for ourselves internally. And that is through communication. That is through self-expression. When we were talking about communication, I also want to loop that in with courage because the way that I see the two fusing together is courage opens the door, communication keeps the door open.
Mm,
So once the door is open, what do you want that to look like? Communication's taken a lot of time for me to learn throughout the past decade because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's really important for me, at least for people to know, hey, here's how I'm feeling. Here is what I want to say about it, or here's how I want to act. Like it's really important for us as individuals to be heard and to be seen. But our communication can cover both how we're heard and how we're seen. And so making sure that it comes across in a way that feels most aligned to us obviously takes a lot of practice, but communication is freedom to me.
yeah, having that courage to like, I've noticed that communicating certain things takes a lot of courage, but then it also takes less courage the more you do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a muscle. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that first one is like very difficult,
Yeah.
and then as you, I guess in the way you're talking about it, as you become more seen and like it for whatever reason becomes easier to remain seen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know me already, you've seen that part of me, let me just continue to.
Yeah. It's a lot of people don't even know how to articulate how they're feeling, which
Mhm.
is why when we're talking about these meditation practices and courage, we all have to start somewhere and we all have to want it bad enough. So that's where the intention comes in, where it's rooted in self love. So, what do you want? How are you going to get there? Are you going to have compassion for the fact that it's not going to happen the first time and it's going to be painful, it's going to be embarrassing, it might not come out the way that you want, but just knowing that you're coming from a place of heart. And I always share with my friends, I'm like, when you do something from a place of love, you can do no wrong. And I say that very lightly because obviously there's exceptions to all the rules, but in day to day, 90% of the time, when you're coming from a place of love, you can do no wrong because it's pure and it's rooted in I want what's best for you and I want what's best for me. I want to make sure I continue to feel safe and seen and heard. I want to make sure you do too. And so, even if the words in between didn't come out the way that you wanted, what does that love look like? That love also might look like, you know what, that didn't come out the way I intended. I don't really know how to articulate this yet, but just know that my intention wasn't that. How I'm feeling right now. And it just takes practice. We need to just figure out and speak and start to try to define how we feel, but we have to start putting words to them. So it's also having the courage to show up and be like, I'm going to try this communication thing on and just keep throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. See when things come out, does that feel good? And it takes a lot of slowing down. A lot of the times people just speak without even thinking how it's going to impact someone or the impact of their words on someone's heart. And that's what I feel is really challenging. So communication also has to do with that, where it's like, how does it make you feel? And then how does it make the other person feel? Was that your intention?
Yeah, as humans, we're very good at reading intention. Like you can tell when someone's bullshitting.
You could feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also tell the other way, which is when someone gives you some hard news.
Mm.
This also depends because you can, have your own triggers and maybe you hear something and that, sets you off in some way, some kind of reaction. So like you said, it's not like every time this is how it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But assuming you're in like a grounded state, if you hear something loving,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a hard thing to hear,
Mm.
we tend to understand that and see what's behind it.
Yeah.
I was also going to say, I was with a past therapist. There was a time where I was talking with him about having a conversation with a family member and like basically along the lines of like starting a new kind of relationship with this family member.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried because I didn't know how to do it. I
Mm.
thought it was going to be awkward, uncomfortable, all these things. And he had really good advice on it, which was like, okay, it's going to be awkward at first. Is that worth it to you? Are you okay with that? Like there's going to be awkward moments, but then after that, you're going to figure it out, and you guys are going to figure out that new dynamic and that new relationship. So I think accepting the fact that, okay, I'm communicating in a new way. It's not like I'm not going to be perfect at it. Yeah. It's going to be weird at times. Yeah. And people aren't going to accept it sometimes. But with practice, I'm going to get better at it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a really, really good point, which is communication is a two-way street. So even if they don't receive it in the way that you anticipate, it does take two. So also being grounded in what I said, I was pure and was very true to me. And I am not responsible for your response, because their response might not, it might be a projection. It might not be processed. They might not understand. So that's the other part of communication is if I'm coming from a place of purity and truth and alignment, then whatever the other person responds with, yeah, it might hurt, but also it's not my responsibility. Your emotions are not my responsibility, but I can hold you in them, but I don't need to take it on. So it not being a responsibility doesn't mean, oh, screw you, like you're feeling this way. It's like, well, no, like you don't have to take that on as your own, but to support them as a friend. Hey, look, why are you feeling this way? Or like, you reacted this way. It's not really like you. Or again, just leaning in a little bit more with love, but you don't need to take it on yourself.
The Vipassana retreat I was on, in one of the teachings, he told us a story about the Buddha and how in the time of this particular Buddha, there are many Buddhas. Buddha just means like a fully enlightened person, which I learned. And at the time of this one, Siddhartha Gautama, I think was his name. Okay. There were a lot of religious people and religious leaders that were not super happy with the Buddha because he was like helping all these people and showing them a different way. And so then they're like, oh, we don't really need religion anymore. And so the story goes, one of these religious leaders is like, I got to do something about this. Like, I got to just like kill the Buddha. And so he goes to the Buddha and he knows that the Buddha's like very good at talking. He's good at communicating. So he's like, I can't let him talk because if he talks, I'm going to understand and then I'm not going to want to kill him anymore. And so he goes to the Buddha and the Buddha's like, hey, let me ask you one question before you do this. Cause he can tell he's angry. He's shouting at him. And the man is just, again, angry. He's yelling at the Buddha and the Buddha's not reacting. And so the Buddha says, let me ask you one question. Like, do you ever have guests over at your house? You have a very nice house. Do you ever invite guests over? And the guy's like, yeah, of course. I have guests all the time. And he says, okay, do your guests ever bring you a gift? The man's like, yeah, sometimes they bring me gifts. And then the Buddha says, okay, what would happen if you didn't accept the gift? And the man just says, like they would just keep the gift. And he says, okay, that's the same thing happening here. You brought all this anger to me, to my house. I'm not accepting the anger. I don't want the anger. Don't give me the anger. And it's this thing that we all think, like we think if someone directs something at us, we have to accept it. We have to take on this feeling. We don't. That's for them to feel. Yes. That's an angry person. Yes. It doesn't mean that you have to accept it just because they're directing it towards you.
That's such a beautiful story. Oh my God. It just brought everything down. It just confirmed and solidified everything we just talked about. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. We're humans. We want to connect, and there are ways that we can intentionally decide to connect and feel love and receive love. And then these other emotions and these other reactions we don't need to receive, and it keeps us in a pure state. So then we can show up more free, more grounded, more happy, more confident, more courageous. So it's having a lot of discernment in that too. It's not your shit to hold,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also, another beautiful reframe that they taught was this compassionate side of things, which is like, you see that this person is angry, they're suffering. You don't need to take on their anger, and you can also feel compassion for them because you see that, oh, you're in this angry state. Like, I wouldn't want to be in that. I wouldn't want to be so angry. So there is the not accepting of it, and then also wishing them peace.
Yeah. It's all energy. People can feel it.
Yeah. So to go back to you, Alexis, what got you into like personal development, growth, this whole mindset of like becoming a better human?
It was my early 20s when I had that first corporate job out of college and I moved away from my parents that I talked about earlier.
Hmm.
And up to that point, I didn't think much for myself. I just did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. So I was brought up, I'm very, very lucky and grateful and blessed. Two incredible parents who love me deeply. They're still married after 38 years. So I have a great example of what true love is and support and companionship and partnership. And, my parents were very intentional about putting my sister and I into sports, staying out of trouble, learning discipline, perseverance, all the incredible characteristics that a sport does bring you. And getting a job as soon as I turned 14, getting the internships, getting the good grades, doing all the things again that I was supposed to. So once I got this job and I signed this job 8 months before graduating college, again, something I thought I was supposed to do, and I moved to Central Virginia, middle of nowhere. My best friend was a 65-year-old retired psychotherapist. I didn't know she was a psychotherapist until a month in after we had several tea sessions. And I was like, because she was just a really friendly lady and she did photography. I'm like, oh, like, so, doing photography your whole life. She's like, oh, no, sweetie. She's like, I'm retired. This is just fun now. I was like, what'd you retire from? And so she told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, you've been analyzing me this whole time. And she was like, well, you're a friend. You weren't someone that came to me seeking help. And so we built this beautiful, beautiful bond after, for throughout the 2 years I was there. So she was really supportive through my journey where I went into this corporate job and 2 weeks in, again, everything was pretty still in my life. So instead of, having family and friends that I knew that I would go home to or a sport or extracurricular activities, I was pretty isolated here and it helped me. A lot of stuff came to the surface. And so once I was in this job, I woke up and I was like, is this what I'm going to be doing for the next 40 years of my life? Like, what? I was freaking out. And so, but it was the first time I actually had the space to calm down and see what I was actually doing. And so I went home and I just started crying. It was a period where I was just crying a lot. I just didn't really know what was going on. I was like, what decision did I make? I messed up, all these things. And so one day I remember this vividly. I should actually probably share this with the girl. She lives here in Austin and we're both from Rhode Island. And she really took off in college with her personal brand and she had a podcast at the time. And she was talking about personal development and a book that she read that helped her. And Will, I felt so rock bottom. And it's one of those moments where I was like, I don't know what else to do. I will do anything. So I decided to listen to this book that she recommended. And I bought my first book on Amazon because I was someone who went through school. I memorized all the books and I was like, I don't want to read because I was reading the wrong stuff. I never enjoyed what I read. And growing up, my parents always had my sister and I read. They're like, well, if you want to watch 30 minutes of TV, you need to read for 30 minutes. And so you bet your bottom. There were some days I read for 5 hours so I could watch my Hannah Montana. Like it was just, there were so many little games I played. But again, I wasn't reading for enjoyment. It was because I wanted the outcome on the other side. So this was literally just like, I guess, similar where I wanted an outcome on the other side, but I just didn't know what I was seeking. So I started reading that first book. And that first book cracked me open. It was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, have you read it? Yeah. Great book. Great book. I recommend it to everyone. I gift it to so many people. But after that, I was so curious. That first year, I was 23 years old. I think I read over 50 personal development books. I was just hungry. And then as soon as that portal opened, I was like, okay, what else do I have to learn? Who am I? Unwinding all these patterns, unlearning all these things, relearning all. And then I started to find my own frequency and my own like happy medium and alignment in terms of what I believed, who I was. But in between all of that, I was trying so many different things. I was showing up more online and sharing more of my story. This is when I started leaning into more of my entrepreneurship and anything I was curious about or interested in, I would try. Throughout my job, it would be my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5 because I was in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing to do except I woke up, I went to the gym, I went to work, but to and from work every single day, I would listen to my Audible and it was 30 minutes each way. And if you listen to 1 hour of reading material every single day, in 1 year, it is equivalent to a master's degree. So every day I listened to an hour worth of audibles, and I read so many books, and I definitely feel like I got a master's degree in personal development. And yeah, from there I just kept getting more and more curious, and I started purchasing courses. And now I've invested over like $150,000 in myself in terms of courses, coaching, resources, tools, retreats, all that kind of stuff, just to lean in. And once you start going into that space, I mean, it's a door that is closed. Like you can never go back to your other default mode. So I'm really grateful for it.
What would your advice be to someone who has not dipped their toe in that?
I would just say start with one. Just start with one. I would recommend starting with The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, Atomic Habits by James Clear, The One Thing by Gary Keller, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, or one of my favorites as of recently. This one's a little bit more like masculine, feminine energies, but especially for men, Keys to the Kingdom by Allison Armstrong. That one's a little bit more of an understanding about, yourself, or the masculine and the feminine in a sense. But the other ones are more so like personal development, understanding why you do what you do, how you're wired. And also it leaves enough space for you to start to align with your own truth versus taking on other identities from other people.
Did that help you end up leaving that job component of it?
That was a big component of it. So I signed a year contract, and I knew that pretty quickly that I didn't want to continue. It just wasn't in my highest alignment, which is fine. But I knew there was a lot that I had to learn during that time. So the personal development that I took on while in that job allowed me to be an even better person during that time at that job. And I knew that the year contract was what it was. But also being in personal development, I actually stayed for 14 months instead of 12 because I was like, okay, is this a reaction where I just want to get out right away? Or what does this look like? So I was able to understand my actions more, and personal development definitely grounded me in that.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. Do you feel like you became more decisive once you made that initial decision to leave home? And like, did the decisions come quicker from there?
I mean, after that, I just moved to 6 different cities. Like I listened to my body, and I tuned in, and I knew I was like, okay, I feel like my chapter here in Virginia is complete. And then I went back home for like 3 to 6 months. And then I was like, oh, next city is Chicago. And moved myself there. Year and a half, up, complete. Let's go to LA, up, complete. And so the first one was the hardest. But after I realized the freedom and the awakening that I had in each of the locations, I knew one good person in each place that I moved. And that's what I always recommend. Know one good person, because good people know good people. So I knew one good person. I went out there, hung out with them, met their good friends, and then I just continued to grow community, and it felt like home pretty quickly. So it definitely, after you do the first one, it gets easier. But if you're not in tune with what is in alignment with you, then it's not going to be easy, because you're just going to be seeking external validation, which every single city and the timing of you wanting to go to a certain city can really alter your experience.
What is something you are currently struggling with?
Something I mentioned earlier, which is being versus doing. And what that overflows into is actually allowing myself to be fully seen. So me being more of who I am and allowing people to see that means I'm allowing people to see the process instead of just the polished version. And the polished version is easy. The confident, courageous, badass, like cool, I could show up, I could do all these things. But it's the process of, I have had so much unknown in my life, and so much so that I have gone very long periods of time without talking to those that I love because I felt shame in not knowing. So right now, what I'm working on is being more seen in my process and allowing the I don't know to be a perfectly good answer versus this is what I'm doing. This is my plan. This is my strategy. I don't know. I don't know a lot of the time. All I am is grounded and rooted in my practices and what makes me feel good. And then everything else just kind of falls into place. So being seen in my process is something I'm working through right now.
Yeah, it's hard to So there's both the admitting I don't know, and then there's also the admitting like not like I was wrong, but like, oh, that thing I was doing, I'm not doing that anymore. I know I was super convicted at the time that that was the thing, but like it's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's also hard to admit,
Mm-hmm.
or just to own the fact that like I've changed. And
Yeah.
yeah, something else. That's for me something that comes up because I'm very entrepreneurial, and so I'm just like trying out stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be excited about something, and
Mm-hmm.
then like 3 months later, someone's like, "Oh, how's that thing?" And I'm like, "I let it die. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
not happening anymore."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've also just been like owning that more. Like I'm aware of the fact like I get excited about stuff.
Yeah.
I
That's
like to do
beautiful.
different things.
Yeah. It's I was just talking to someone the other day about it when because I have changed things. Oh my gosh. I tried so much throughout my 20s. It was a true testing ground and I still am. I dialed in how I tried things out, meaning I used to as soon as I got excited about it, I used to tell everyone. Then when I stopped, I felt worse because all of that accountability and all those eyes and all those expectations were on it. And when other people know about things, puts a little bit more pressure on you, which can be good.
Mm-hmm.
But when having these tender, vulnerable moments of excitement, especially in the early stages, you're an infant, you know? So you got to protect the baby until you become a teenager, until you become an adult. So what I've done is I've delayed telling people about that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, although I still try and like try, fail, stop many, many things. But now I'm really embracing the process of, okay, I'm super excited about this. I want to dive in. Probably not going to tell many people, if any at all. And I'm going to see what this has in store for me in terms of growth. What is this supposed to teach me? If this is supposed to be the thing, amazing. But I'm actually detached from the outcome of this thing. And I'm more into and interested in the process of who I'm meant to become and what skills I'm supposed to learn, the people I'm supposed to meet, the conversations I'm supposed to have, you know? So I've reframed what the starting and stopping looks like because that kept me so low so many times in my life because I felt a lot of shame. I'm like, why can't I stick with anything? When the reframe is, I have so much courage to try different things and put myself in the beginner seat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? That's so much more empowering, you know? But society wants you to stick with one thing so people know, so it's clear. I believe in that to a certain extent, but just like anything else, there's always a gray area. And this is a quote that one of my coaches taught me or told me, excuse me. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Do you know the rest of the quote? But oftentimes is better than the master of one. That's the full quote. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes is better than the master of one, which is wild. That completely opened me up because I was like, I need to be one thing because I'm a jack of all trades. So I'm a master of none. And so I kept myself in this super low frequency, but oftentimes is better than the master of one, which is crazy. It was wild. So that liberated me. And it's really helped me also lean into those situations, as you mentioned, of I get excited. I try new things. And it's freaking awesome.
It very much is. I think the balance for me has been how do I know when the right time is to quit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to quit when things just like whenever something gets hard, I'm gonna quit. Like that's probably not the best
Mm-hmm.
strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But then also you don't want to hold on to something just because you told people about it or you're attached to it or you have whatever riding on that. Like you want to let go of things that no longer are a part of what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that balance
Mm-hmm.
is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the whole game.
It is the game. Yeah.
What does your dream life look like?
I've been asked this question before. And when I sat with it and reflected for this conversation, something new came up that I'm incredibly grateful for. It felt very aligned with this version of myself. And my dream life looks like intimacy and impact. So, intimacy in terms of I'm a community builder. I love bringing people together. And I love when I bring people together, it feels like a family reunion. It feels very familiar, very grounded, very comfortable. very playful. The intimacy piece is in the connections. It's in a slow morning with the sun pouring through the window, and I'm able to go ground outside in the grass. I'm able to have my cup of tea. I'm able to have my elixir. I'm able to connect deeply with those I love around me. I'm able to connect deeply with my own thoughts. And so the impact and the intimacy is what I want to continue doing in terms of speaking and connecting and traveling and really supporting people in their highest and best version. Having the space to have conversations like these where someone might walk away with a new perspective or they might feel empowered or inspired. That is a really big part of my magic because I've taken the time to get to know myself. So when I meet someone, I see them and I know a lot about them in a very short period of time. And then knowing how to communicate helps me articulate and reflect back to them who they are, which might be new to them. They might not know what those words are or never knew how to articulate it. But when I say it, either feels true or it doesn't. And even there is a learning experience. So I really look forward to continuing to build my life of impact and intimacy so I can not only interact and engage, but I could also be and exist and do what I feel like.
That is such a superpower. Like having the ability to reflect someone back to themselves, that is not normal. Like anytime that someone's done that to me, it's like it just like shifts me into this like, oh shit, this is crazy. Because I at least were, you know, in the relationships I grew up with, like that was not very normal. So that is, yeah, keep doing that.
Thank you.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you feel anything else coming up?
We're talking about communication and courage. So is there any part of your life in which you are desiring expansion? Is there something that you wish you could step forward with more courage in an area of your life? Is there an area in which you want to communicate more clearly or more thoroughly or more grounded?
Yes. And those things are kind of in progress. Yeah. So yes, certainly there are. There are areas in my relationship, in friendships, family relationships. It's definitely a difficult one for me. And yeah, it definitely requires courage. I think in my relationship, there's always like, anytime there's something real that needs to be communicated, it takes me a bit of courage. Yeah, like it feels like I got to step off a ledge just briefly and then sit in the abyss. Yeah, but I think I am on the right path. And I think the self-awareness practices are what are going to get me there because those keep me in touch with, okay, am I communicating? Was there something that happened that I did not communicate well or that came up for me that I kept to myself? Or did I react to something without noticing? So yes, I think for probably for everyone, but certainly for myself, these things are always on a sliding scale and there's always something I'm working on. There's always a focus, but then there are always the other things as well that are like moving. They're on their way. What do you feel? Are there areas that you're focused on right now?
I think just like you said, I'm more so grounded in the whole journey of it and the process. And so just really focusing on the process of showing up. My word for this year was illusion, or excuse me, it was delusional. That was my word for the year. I want to be so delusional about creating the exact life that I know I'm meant to live that I am willing to show up with extra courage and extra confidence and alignment because I know it's my truth. But we all need to have a certain level of delusion in order to step forward with courage in these situations that are a little bit edgy, you know? So really focusing on what is the process of becoming more delusional, because how am I going to show up into each of those? Who am I going to become in the process of that? And that's been just really, really fun presencing it because it takes a lot of pressure off me. I used to, as soon as I got like in work mode or competition mode, when I used to compete, my face would be, I mean, it was just like so serious and people would be like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just so focused. And now I'm like, just allowing everything to be a little bit lighter and a little bit more playful and a little bit more fun because no one makes it out anyway. No one makes it out alive anyway. So it's like, what's the point of being serious about it? Yeah. So
That's very true. We're all going to the same place.
yeah.
Awesome, Alexis. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Would you share where people can keep up with you?
Of course. Yeah, you can go to my Instagram at Alexis Quiterio. But yeah, find me on there. It's a really bright colored avatar and just welcoming you in to come along with me in my journey of communication and courage and masculine, feminine dynamics and fitness and wellness. It's just living life. Just grow with me. So yeah, I welcome everyone to come and
Awesome.
join. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Of course.
for your time. This has been a very grounding conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.